Welcome back to the Modern Brown Man podcast. My name is Khurram Sultan. I'm honored to be a guest here today with Amrit and Mukh, but we are going to dive into some topics I actually have not too much depth on it yet, but we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, no, we thought Khurram would be a perfect guest to bring on. This topic is kind of around facing obstacles and challenges and overcoming that, not only in your profession but also in your personal life. So just give the audiences a quick background of what do you do, and just a quick rundown.
I run a basketball academy full time. Other than that itself, running your own business in any realm takes quite a bit out of you.
Yeah,
it's easier to say now that I run a basketball academy now, but I guess maybe even 4 or 5 years ago when I was trying to tell my parents that this is what I wanted to do and this is where I'm trying to lead things to I guess progress.
Yeah,
it was tough to say it was going to be a possibility when nobody else was really doing it.
Yeah.
So that's definitely taken time, but it's what I do full time now.
Okay. And then going back to what you just said, going 4 years back, that's a long process to, achieve where you are today. And, kudos to you, hats off to you going through the process of first telling your parents, this is what you love doing. And I see something that you guys don't see it right now, but I can really prosper in this career. I can make something out of it. How did you go through that process of even telling your parents, and how did they even take that?
Well, I guess even first, when going back to high school, when I wanted to play basketball, my parents are always wondering, where is this going to take you? What's the purpose of basketball? Mm-hmm. Where studies is kind of clear direction moving forward. Typical brown man story. But yeah, even back then, I was no, I think in terms of what I used to really say is it helps you further in your business career through networking. Because if you're able to work in a cohesive team and not make everything about you, players typically end up getting jobs simply for the fact that they're able to be a part of a team for a long period of time and have a mission, a goal, and work towards it. So that's how I kind of tried selling my parents on it quite a bit when I was younger. I don't even know if I even really believed in it at the time or knew if that's really how it went down. But that's, I guess, from the start, that was where even any form of obstacle really started. Is I had to kind of sell everything to my parents before it even turned into reality. And even in the midst of all of it, it's hard to show them proof of anything, especially something so out there that it could be a reality. But it was actually 2016. I was training off season, and I just was really into learning, right? And I guess I was trying to understand, how can I be a better basketball player? I'm not the tallest, so just trying to find different ways and different advantages that I could get. And I started seeing people pop up in the online world trying to figure out, pop up in the online world. And instead of thinking, wow, they're amazing, which I actually did think so, and I still think that they are at the time. At that age, I was there's not many other people out there doing it. So I wonder if I could do this, and especially because I love basketball so much, I moved a lot as a kid. I was born in Lahore, Pakistan, and then moved back and forth between Abu Dhabi and Pakistan quite a bit.
Oh, wow.
So I just wanted something that gave me some form of stability in terms of emotional control and just being able to understand what's happening in my life. Because when there's so much change and so many different things happening at once that aren't the same every year, basketball started becoming one of those things that felt like no matter where I was, it could be one of those things. Now, back in Pakistan, I didn't play basketball. I played cricket, and I swam a lot, and soccer.
Yeah.
And even when I moved to Canada, it was a lot more soccer and basketball.
Yeah.
But I guess when we moved to Edmonton, that's when I was I'm tired of kicking soccer ball super far, and decided to really go all in on basketball. But I would say the challenges in terms of seeing how much I love basketball, I always wondered, what would it take to be able to keep basketball in my life forever? Because for me, it was the greatest teacher in life. Every time I wanted to be a better man, I had to be a better basketball player, or maybe have the mindset of how would I progress further in this, and that would actually teach me how to be a better man too.
No, 100%. And thing with that is too, as you alluded to, it's that discipline, man. Some people like doing it, and there's people that want to do it every day, wake up, no matter what you're going through. You may be feeling a little bit sick or whatever it may be. It's that discipline that you strive towards because you genuinely love it. Yeah. You love the art of basketball, like how it gives you a peace of mind and how it's always a common denominator. No matter where you are point in life, whether in your lows, your highs, that's what brought you peace in life. And when you can turn that into a business, man, that's a beautiful thing. No, not people can accomplish that though, man.
Yeah.
And sorry, my bad.
Oh no,
let me turn this off really quick. It's okay.
I get my coffee in too. See, 2 birds, 1 stone.
I was waiting to clear my throat.
But yeah, sorry, I was saying the beauty of playing basketball. Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing when you're able to do what you love and turn it into a business model. And the one thing I always struggled, like especially when I came from India as well, because I grew up down there as well. Like basketball wasn't a thing. Only thing I had was like this small rim against like a cement wall. Didn't have a basketball. It was a small little cricket ball. You just shooting at it. That's the only thing we had. And schools back then didn't even have basketball nets. Now obviously they're growing as a community, but back then it wasn't a thing. And when you came here, and I'm like, damn, I enjoy playing basketball. Like I could stay up until like 11, 12, 1 a.m. at nighttime after school just shooting hoops. And what I tell people is repetitiveness, no matter in what field you are, it leads to success. Man, I'm not even kidding. I picked up a basketball in grade 9. That's when I started playing. And like in grade 9 I got cut, grade 10 I got cut, grade 11 I got cut, but grade 12 I was finally good enough to make it. But that was because I just love shooting ball. Every day I would come home from school, shoot 24/7. And it translated to me becoming a good shooter, and that had nothing to do with whether I was athletic or any. Those things can be improved. But these days people tend to just give up on it so easy because at year 1 it doesn't equate to the success they thought they might achieve. Whether it's monetary or whether it's skill wise, and they just easily just give up on their dreams just due to the fact that like, man, I'm not good enough as that guy. I've been playing for 10 years. Yeah, you're not gonna be good as me. You just started 2 years ago. But people are so easily to just give up on their dreams just because they don't want to go through that hardship. And truth be told, they're just weak. And no, it's true though.
It is.
Like no matter what field you're in, everything, it's a kill or be killed world out there. Your success is dependent on the work that you put in. It's not a factor of he's in this level. It doesn't matter. Sometimes given situation, there's politics and everything. But your works will speak for itself. If you genuinely love what you're doing and you're putting the work ethic and you're there day in and day out, how can anybody deny your capability in that field? But again, it's just like people are just too weak these days, I feel like personally.
And like I love, actually, grade 12 is probably the hardest year to make it because grade 10 you can make senior or junior. Grade 11 you can make senior or junior. Grade 12 you can only make senior. So that's a tough spot, and kudos to you to be able to stick to it. And obviously it shows that you got tons of love for the game. But I still hear lots of that, and I think even when I was younger, it was like my parents were asking me where are the brown guys in the NBA, or when I wanted to dunk, the guys at the rec centers or wherever it may be, they said, show me a brown guy under 6 foot who can dunk. Right? And it would just like I would obviously use that as fuel. But I always wanted to, I was okay with the result as long as I had the experience to see what that result would be. And I think for me, in this day and age, it's easier to give up before you actually get that experience and actually steal somebody else's experience before you actually apply it on yourself. So like if you're able to actually go through, like I'm very big on living through, like even what I hear, I don't really believe it instantly. right?
Yeah.
I want to try for myself.
100%.
For example, Wim Hof breathing. My dad and I were talking about it. I was like, Dad, I've been holding my breath for 3 minutes, right?
Yeah.
He's like, you're gonna die. And I was like, no, like it's backed by this. And at the start, I was like, I'd hold it for a minute and a half, 2 minutes, but then 3 minutes sounds like a lot to be able to hold your breath for. And when I talked to certain people about it, even a doctor about it, he was like, yeah, it's like an anomaly. Like, easily everybody, including adults, will throw it out the window before actually trying it for themselves.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact that if they tried and went through the same steps that I went through, then they'd be like, oh yeah, do you know I could hold my breath for 3 minutes? Right? So it's like, before even getting to being able to put your own failures on somebody, there's plenty of things that we're not going to be good at, and there's plenty of things that we're going to be good at. But I think like the mindset is lacking tremendously because people give up and then they apply that to everything else too. Whereas like you could go to the very end of it all and fail, and then you have a structure, you have procedures, you have point A to point B that you know how to get to, and whether it works or not isn't defined of who you become, but you can apply that into something else that might work.
No, I agree, man. I mean, that's beautifully said. I think not trying at all and just deferring away from it because you weren't good in the first year or second year, whatever it may be, I think is a disservice to yourself. I think you got to seek it through that process, no matter what it is. So, man, like, and the crazy thing, like, seeing where you come from, like coming from like Lahore, then living in Abu Dhabi, then coming to Edmonton. And Edmonton is like, it is a small market relatively to other cities in Canada. When you look at Calgary, like even it's a little bit bigger than Edmonton, probably actually a lot more. Yeah. And even like Vancouver or East Coast, whatever it may be. But you chose a foundation to be here, and you could have easily been like, you know what, let me go to a bigger market like Vancouver or Ontario. Why did you think it was so important to just stick to the market that you have here and build something here?
Well, I think I've grown a lot of love for Edmonton. Like I was saying, I lived in Lahore, Abu Dhabi, and we moved back and forth quite a bit too, almost like every year, it felt like. And we actually moved to St. John's, Newfoundland when we came to Canada. Yeah. And that's where I got my citizenship and learned English over there. Learned it again when I came here. But no, shout out to the Newfies. They're some of the best people I've met. I still remember all my experiences. Even when I left and moved from St. John's to Edmonton, I had a crazy big sleepover the night before, and I had probably like 10, 12 people that loved me enough to want to come to the airport crying in there. And
damn,
my mom was like, whoa, like
that's love.
What are we, are we making a mistake moving now, right? But it was the right choice in terms of family. And that's sometimes a hard thing to understand as a kid. But when we came to Edmonton, I've always wanted, like I was saying, stability, to be able to be in one spot and call it home. Because I used to envy people who had childhood friends where I was like, that's crazy. He's known him since grade 2. And I was like, I can't even imagine what that would feel like. So it was something that as a kid, that's what I wanted. And when I came to Edmonton, I met lots of people, was able to, I guess, connect through people through basketball, right? And I was able to just see a whole bunch of different races be one through a ball. And just having that experience, and I guess every city, like one of my goals was, obviously markets might be bigger, but Edmonton is home for me, and I wanted to make some form of impact while I was here first, even if my choice is to leave later. This is still a home ground to me. So it's not like if I'm gone, I'm gone. Yeah. I'm still back and forth. Yeah. And I'm not leaving till I'm able to do that. And I guess for me, when I was traveling and getting the opportunity to collaborate and meet with people that I looked up to, especially in the States, that were saying, hey, you should come down here. We would like to offer you a job here or whatnot. To me, the kid in me pulled me back to Edmonton, because I used to start thinking, man, imagine if I knew all this crazy information that I know now past my career, to be able to learn as a kid. Maybe if I started giving these like insights on certain things to kids at a younger age, who knows where they could be. And that's really what kind of drove me to stay here. Obviously, family plays a big factor. I have a younger brother who's 14 and played a big role in, I guess, just being around him and helping him navigate through life a little bit differently than how I did, while still allowing him to make his own mistakes.
Yeah.
But Edmonton's a great spot. There's plenty of amazing people here. And I think, like, I see guys like yourself starting this up. We got Sean Kanungo, who I really look up to, and I see him. He's another one of those guys that he doesn't need to be here,
Exactly. Yeah.
but he's here, right?
Oh,
So I think there's plenty of people. You got guys like Kenny and Cash's second floor, that I get to work alongside now. And for real, I remember when they started, people are starting to talk about things in a different way. And I think how they approached it was the same thing. They started doing things that other people just weren't. And it's giving back to a community. And I guess when you give back to a community, it is, in the long run, is going to find its way to give back to you, even if it's not the people that you gave to at the start, if that makes sense.
No. I agree with that, man. And that's the thing, though, too. I feel like because we're in Edmonton and because we're such a small market, I think it means a lot more for the people that are growing up that are coming up behind us. Because even when we brought Herbir on, like, he's a young kid. He's 17, he's 16, and he has aspiration to become, play at a professional level one day. So when he sees, like, yourselves and some other hoopers that are still here and are, constantly trying to evolve the market in Edmonton, it gives him a sense of hope. Making it's not where you're born or where you reside. It's having these role models around you to kind of be like, okay, if he can do it, I can definitely, be success, have that success. I can have that success in that field. So, shout out to you, man, for sticking it out in Edmonton and then, and being proud of it. And as you can see, the dialogues we're having in our community now, when it comes to the diversity of how many people in our culture, not even all culture, man, like in minority cultures that are starting up their own thing. How Cassius started his own marketing agency. Before that, there weren't that many names that were prevalent at all. But now you're constantly seeing our culture rising and trying new things that are out the norm of our culture that might not, be the most favorable option when it comes to our parents. But nevertheless, now they're seeing the light, be like, there's something to it. But that only can come from people like yourself and, like your second floor podcast and even like Cassius starting their own marketing agency and stuff. They're the leading example. To be like, hey, mom, look, this is what they've done. And this is where it has taken them. And then it allows them to, I wouldn't say like just like freely just pursue it, but have some sort of weight.
But I get it. I completely understand, because even how we were talking about like why I'm trying to do it, and how I was telling you when I was a kid, my mom saying, show me another brown guy who's actually good at basketball, right? So it's kind of turned me into like, I love seeing Desi kids pull up because I'm like, I can show them certain things and they can maybe take those things early, but then they also enjoy that. Like, I'll make jokes in Hindi, Punjabi, Urdu, and they get it. And that's something that I never got, but hopefully it allows them to feel motivated in a different way than I did versus like me versus the world, which sometimes isn't the worst thing, right? It pushes you further in a different way, but it also shows that you can have real conversations with them. You can show them that this is where the path is. This is how far I got. This is how far I can see you getting. This is if it's possible. But at the same time, for parents, it's also great because like they get to see a Desi guy running a basketball training academy where not as many people are doing that. And I guess that's one of those other side factors where like people who stay locally, the more they do it, the more the easier it's going to be for a younger kid to want to be able to pursue it a little bit more than what it was back in the day.
And I feel like there's more power to it too. Like growing as a community, especially in small cities, I feel like there's more to it than there, because now you build a whole army behind you of a city. You know what I mean? So, and even like I was talking to Mukh about, like, we all know the negative aspects of like going through hardships, like the negative thing that we have to face and how we persevere them. But what do you think is like the positive things that you got from through that journey of like personal growth through the hardship that you faced? Like, what are the like that you can like pinpoint, like looking at, they're like, okay, I know this is what I've been through, but like this helped me grow as a person.
Yeah.
And emerge through the hardship that you went through, pursuing your dreams of like having, like maybe not necessarily you knew right away, like basketball academies, that's what I wanted right off the bat, but pursuing that career in basketball or some sort of field, whatever, you know, capacity it may be.
I would say, actually rephrase it one more time for me.
No, just like, what would you say, like,
What
are some personal growth
like through the hardships?
Yeah. Like that taught you, be like,
and
this is to have
positives.
An outlook. Like this is how an outlook on life, because it's easy to have a negative outlook on life due to all the backlash you get given what you're trying to pursue, especially when in the beginning you don't see that monetary and the financial value that's coming back. Now your parents are questioning you, like, what are you actually doing? You know, and your relatives and everybody are out to get you, like you're the enemy. Like, what did I do to you?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to pursue my dreams, like, you know, but they bash you on it though.
I would say the positives easily come from just loving the game, as simple as that is at the start. Every time I was injured, every time I was like had any form of setbacks, it made me re-question how much I loved it. Right? Because every time there was a big setback, it was another chance to stop, or it was another chance to push through and learn something. When I was 30, just last year, or almost 2 years ago now,
age is just a number.
I tore my calf, my soleus, and my tib ends.
Jesus.
And I was like, man, now I'm 30. Like, how is this recovery going to be? What am I going to be able to, like, am I going to be able to bounce back? And I think I was at that age mature enough to realize, instead of, as soon as it happened, whereas the old me, I would just be very upset, I was like, I wonder what I'm going to learn about myself. And that was the approach I went into it. And actually that same summer is where I felt younger at 30 than I did at 25, or like at any age, because I was back to dunking. I was back to playing. I had 9 or 10 games where I averaged over 29 points a game and shooting over 60% in Battle League against some of the guys that are like 20, 21, playing U Sport, and just guys that are up there, right? So it was like, that felt really good. But I think the positives that I've really taken from it is it's all led you somewhere further. Like, in this exact moment only happened because of all the moments that happened previous to it. And so many different variables were there, but the positives really outweigh the negatives when you look at it after you zoom out. But it's really hard to see in those moments until you have, I guess, the experience of going through it enough times to know that this is how it goes, and this is how you could take it this route or negative. Early on, definitely more on the negative side, because I think like Desi culture is just to make excuses, and that should, like, I was hands down in grade 10 when I played juniors, I was averaging close to 30. Grade 11, I had a coach, the senior coach. He came to one of our games. We actually had a tournament together, senior team, junior team, and I think I had 21 or over 24 points in the first quarter. I'm thinking after the game, and he's watching, so I was like really trying a little bit harder, right? I was trying to get like 40 or 50. So then by the end of the game, he walks up to me and says, "You'll never play a effing minute unless you play defense better."
Jeez.
Right? And I was expecting him to be like,
"You are crazy, hey,
right?
Good job."
Right? And then the next year when I started playing for him, it was the first time I was held accountable. And I hated that man for about 2 years. And then later in life, I realized how much he taught me, because all the things that he pushed me towards that I hated helped me grow. And that shift in mindset is what I try to really apply towards a lot of the kids now, because a lot of them come from different backgrounds. It's their mindset that's broken. Like, if you think about it, it's who can mentally go through more.
100%. I agree, man.
So I'd say the positive that I've taken is definitely that.
Okay, then building off the question, I thought in the moment, I was like, what do you think is the main problem in today's society that people are not willing to go through hardship?
I think it's distractions. It's very easy to do the wrong things.
Okay.
Right. And it's hard when you don't have a reason why not to do the wrong things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would say things such as like, it's just all, when you realize that you're being programmed, either you're going to program yourself or you're going to allow yourself to be programmed.
Yeah.
And there's certain kids that I have that consciously make the choice to be able to program themselves. And then there's others that you can just see their subconscious mind is running their whole life.
Yeah.
Right. They're not actually actively engaging in what they want because they haven't even thought that far. TikTok, all of these different platforms, just kind of like reduce attention span to the point where it's hard to have delayed gratification. I'd say a lot of the training too, like when kids come, they're excited to train. They're like, I'm going to get better at basketball.
Yeah.
And when they realize 95% of it, they're going to be ass.
Yeah.
Then some of them get shocked and they're like, either like they close off or they abide by the change of mindset. So I tell them, like, you think this is the only session that's going to be like this? Everyone's going to be like this.
Oh, yeah.
You're only going to enjoy maybe 10 minutes of it if you choose to only enjoy the parts that you can get right. But if you can start enjoying the parts where you can grow a little bit throughout each rep and make those changes, then your mindset starts changing. And then you kind of like look for delayed gratification where in this day and age, it's hard to see because if you're looking for just end product, you got a whole 90% of process and 10% of outcome. You get 10% of being happy.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas if you can figure out ways to, okay, that rep sucked, but this one was better than that one. I didn't get to the 10%, but I still got a little bit better. Nice. Right? I'm in it.
True,
I'm here. So it's like that delusional mindset grows in the process side.
Yeah.
And then you start enjoying, you're like, yeah, I'm going to be so good before you even get to the 10%.
Yeah.
So you end up enjoying that side that much more. And obviously there's different hardships that you go through. Things don't always work out your way despite your hard work.
Yeah.
But then you actually change your mindset and say, you can actually see where you get better. Whereas the kids that actually seek for the 10%, because their mindset's so trash, that's what kind of holds them back is they refuse to look bad for 50% or 50 minutes out of the 60.
Yeah.
And because they refuse to look bad, they actually didn't change anything. They were just seeking to not look bad, not go through it. And you got to go through it to get through it. Shout out, Russ.
I think one thing I'll add on to Khurram is what people don't understand is that it's a lonely process as well. They're always thinking of the attention that they'll grab. Like if you're starting off, let's say basketball, you're learning from the foundation. They always compare themselves in comparison to someone that's doing 10 years. What you talked about.
Yeah.
Right. What they don't understand is it's a lonely process, even through basketball, business, whatever it may be. Right. They don't understand how to humble themselves. And the problem I think today's society too is that people don't know how to improve themselves by themselves, right? They think it's a depressing lifestyle, right? So,
and then sorry, not to cut you out, but I think one of the person that I feel like when it comes to the basketball genre is PJ Tucker, man. The reason why I say his name is he went from a person that was like, he could do everything. He could score, he could pass, he could do that. But guess what? When he came to the NBA, the ability to humble yourself. What I mean by that is not everybody wants to chuck up threes. They want to score this, that. But guess what? The players actually that have a prominent role in teams are those key players that know themselves, that are humble enough to embrace that role and be like, oh, it's okay to just be a lockdown defender and shoot threes when you're wide open and make sure to make them goddamn shots. Yeah. It's not about just like, hey, let me just shoot it from here. And his mindset, it is unreal. He said he went without this whole game. There are what? 12, there's 48 minutes in a game. He didn't shoot one shot. His sole responsibility was to play defense on the other team's best player, and play it at the utmost highest level he can. And guess what? He embraced that role. And if you look at his competitiveness and his fieriness, he doesn't back down for no one.
Yeah.
He talks shit to Kevin, no matter who it is.
Yeah.
For him, it doesn't matter. He embraces that role. I think a lot of people, what they don't understand is when they're trying to accomplish things, no matter what realm of career you want, whether it's business or whether it's sports, understanding what your role is and do it to the highest capacity you can. Don't be like, oh, I see Curry jacking up threes and he's making them. I think I could do that too. But why would you want to do that? If you can perfect your own craft, why wouldn't you work on that?
Yeah.
Rather than, looking at someone else's success, be like, oh, let me try to emulate that in my professional career, but that's not who you are.
Yeah, and even to add on to, I think what the average consumer doesn't understand is the mindset and exactly what I was saying earlier, how delusional PJ Tucker is.
Yeah.
Right? Like he goes into every game saying, I'm going to stop this guy.
Yeah.
And he knows, like to us, he even knows that he's like, he's probably going to get some buckets. But in that moment, he refuses to believe it.
Yeah.
Right? So delusional, saying, I'm going to stop him. I'm going to stop him. I'm going to stop him. And until the whistle's done, he believes in it.
Yep.
Right? And I think that itself shows like the same thing I was saying earlier is like you learn to go through processes. You learn to be able to mold yourself into roles later. Mm-hmm. And then when you can do that, if you're delusional in your process, like there's games where, for example, there's one game in college we were down 27 points, right, going into the fourth. Everybody, like there's guys on our team that didn't think we could come back.
It's deflated.
You could feel it.
Yeah.
And obviously it's hard to believe it. But I could feel some guys that were just delusional enough where like, if we just cut it to like 10 by this much time, or like we get it to 15 by 5 minutes left in the quarter, then we can.
It's right there.
Yeah. And we actually end up coming back. It was me and shout out my guy Bars. We were like, at halftime, we said, we're not effing losing this game, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't believe that, stay the F off the court.
100%.
And for both of us, we both end up playing really good. I end up 24 points and had 10 in the fourth. We were just feeding off each other just because I could feel how delusional he was on it and he could see the same. So it's like, okay, what's the best? It was like playing chess. Yeah. And we ended up coming back to win. It was the largest comeback in like ACAC history.
Yeah.
So it was just like the fact, I think like when you can get delusional enough, you can really that's where the magic really happens.
Yeah.
That's the one thing though. That's the problem with today's age. People give up way too easily.
And like to go back to what you were asking earlier and to add on to they give up too easily is because everything is happiness based.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let me have this food that makes me happy. Let me go watch this shit that makes me happy. Let me go to the gym, but I'm not going to work out if it's too hard because it doesn't make me happy, right?
Yeah.
But then if you can switch that to what makes me proud at the end of the day, because like back when I was younger, I was delusional enough. I used to like follow every step, right? I was like, I don't care. Like these are the steps. Who am I to say, nah, I'm going to follow 80% of this step and then these other 20%, I'm just going to push this to the side.
Mm-hmm.
I went 100 in to all of it because that's what worked for other people.
Yeah.
Who am I to come in and say, I like a lot of this, but maybe this I'm going to leave out.
Yeah.
I remember I used to be, I would try so hard to dunk. I'd do all the workouts. I just couldn't get past a certain point, right? Mm-hmm. And I used to lay in bed and before I'd sleep for hours, for at least an hour, 2 hours, just visualize my steps approaching and dunking, approaching and dunking over and over again.
Yeah.
And when I think back to it now, like I'm telling you guys, but it was really like a form, like I was being very psychotic in that moment.
Yeah.
And
sometimes you have to
eventually, like actually within like a few weeks later, I was dunking, right? And it was crazy to me. And I remember like even guys would say, oh, it's not going to happen. I said, give me 3 months. And I just stopped talking to everybody for 3 months.
Yeah.
Right? I said, like, I'm going to focus on this where I know if I do this 3 months later, I might be proud of myself for going all in. But the happiness is what people chase more than being proud. And I think that's why the process is lost. Mm-hmm. And I think to add to what you were saying, that's really where I feel like people are falling off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think kind of speaking on your guys' relationship too, I think like having that support system around you, and that kind of Mukh kind of alluded to, the relationship that you have with Khurram and how it made you pursue your own career and everything too. So, kind of like give like your understanding of like having a support system and how it allows you to go through that hardship of like, like having a mentor that you can look up to can, navigate you through your career?
Yeah, I mean, starting off, how long have I known you? I don't even remember, man.
I don't even remember either.
It's been a while. Let's just say
It's been a while.
Years fly by.
Yeah.
But definitely, like, I would say at least 5.
Last 5 years, yeah. I don't know. I think it was just for myself trying to find the right people. The thing is, like, I had an understanding of kind of where I wanted to go. Sports was not really the thing.
Mm-hmm.
First, I wanted to get into as a business consultant.
Yeah.
That didn't work. Architect, that didn't work. So then for me, it was like an aspect. I was like, okay, I'm always going to the gym. I'm always learning how to improve my athleticism. So then I was like, why not just stay within that field? I love running businesses. I love just the path of starting a business from the foundation and onwards. Because I had patience. That was not an issue for me.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with what I was trying to do was that it was hard to find the people that had a similar mindset.
Yep.
And one of that issue was that people just found it way too cheesy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're trying to run a business. Oh, you think so much of yourself.
Yep.
Right? Like, oh, why don't you just, go party?
Yeah.
Right? Enjoy life.
Yeah.
It's not an issue. Right? But it's like, no, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
This is what makes me happy because the first time it made me put a smile on my face.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it was really tough because a lot of people were thinking that I was way too serious. Right?
Yeah.
And that was the one thing that made it tough for me to find like-minded people. And then, of course, I found you on Instagram and I saw you playing basketball and stuff. I was like, okay, this guy's different. I was like, I saw this guy. I was like, okay, he's probably the first brown basketball player he's actually taking serious.
Yeah.
And then I don't know how exactly your conversation started, but then afterwards, I think you got a bit of understanding how my mindset was, what I was trying to do, the stuff that I failed on, but then I was still progressing in a sense, right?
And I got to give kudos to you instantly because I think this is like the same path, and I know we're maybe like 3-4 years, 5 years apart. I don't know age-wise.
I wouldn't say 5 years.
But yeah, I feel.
I'm right behind you.
But I would say, like when I would chat with Mook, I had plenty of people give me the same thing that he got, right? I just needed one person, and I'd rather hear from the guy that I'm talking to or want to learn from versus all the people that haven't even tried it.
Yep.
Right? So when Mook was giving me the information on things that he wanted to do and where he wanted to try, I think what I would always tell him is try, right? Like, let me see, like you won't figure it out unless you actually put yourself in the arena. Mm-hmm. And then once you put yourself, you'll actually come across different things. Maybe you might even take a detour so far left from where you first started that you don't even know how you got there, but that's where the magic's going to happen. And I got to say, even this podcast, this is something that we chatted about before it existed, right?
Yeah.
And I was telling you, like, these are steps. QFilms is great for this.
Yeah.
This is how you could create a system. And we just had regular day-to-day conversations, which is very easy to do, but the hard part is the execution. And here we are having a conversation on your podcast. So that's a beautiful thing.
No, it is, man. And that's what I kind of admire about your guys' thing is like understanding like how to create that support system and how it can help you navigate through, tough situations. So how would you say like having that support system and how did you go about even implementing that to try to, help you navigate through the hardship that you face?
Well, see, before I had absolutely outside of my family, and even that feels iffy at times, just because like you're uncertain how.
This provides you stability.
Yeah, like they're on your team, but how far are they willing to go?
Exactly.
Right. And that's nothing against family. That's because they want the best for you, and
100%, man.
That's their way of trying to provide you security in life. So I had absolutely, like, I could count my friends, right? Maybe a few, but I refused to have friends, actually. I actually stopped going to, like, I'd hang out with friends at a shisha spot or whatever. And I remember one night, I'd be like, I go to the gym every day. I end up playing basketball, and then I end up going back to the gym later.
Yeah.
And then I end up hang out with my friends because I feel like I'm missing out.
Yeah.
And when I'm there, I starve myself because I don't want to eat junk. It's against my routine that I'm trying to go for. Mm-hmm. And then I'll give in at like 2-3 a.m. because everybody's going to Denny's now and everything goes to shit, right? So I remember one day I was sitting there contemplating. My friend Guled, who I'm still best friends with now, he was looking at me. He's like, "You good?" He was like maybe 5-10 people away, and I was like, "Yeah, bro, I'm good.
Yeah.
You good? You able to get home if I leave?" He's like, "Yeah." And I end up leaving, and then I refused to go back. And that's where, like, I was probably 19, 20, but I started enjoying figuring things out myself. I was like, I don't enjoy any of those things.
Yeah.
I actually enjoy being by myself and learning. And there's certain people that have an itch to grow, and there's certain people that just don't, which is okay, and they find it later in life when they're unsatisfied with the things that provide temporary satisfaction.
Yep.
But I never drank, I never smoked, so it wasn't like, it didn't really make sense for me, right? So it's weird, like the support system didn't exist until I took time to build myself up to a certain point where other people, because before I had plenty of like brown guys that would ask me like, "Yo, bro, I'm trying to get like you," and I'd see their work ethic and I'd say, "Fuck out of here," right? I'm not.
You're not built for this,
right? I'm not, like, I would actually get so mad that, like, I would go to events with my family and they say, "Oh, what do you do?" And I'd say, "Oh, I play basketball quite a bit. I'm here," and I even remember I made Team Alberta at the time, and guys were like, "Oh yeah, I play basketball too," right? So I was like, right? And it would piss me off because I'm like, no, we're not talking about the same basketball here.
We're not the
right?
same.
So it was hard for me to find people who took it serious. But even then I was way far from, and even now I think I'm way far from where I could be, right? Like it's that mindset hasn't gone. I still think about, man, I'm about to turn 32.
Yeah.
I wonder if I can hit my prime at 36. Like by 36, 37, I want to be like I'm 30, right?
Yeah, as you should.
So until I built myself up to a certain point, that's when my friends kind of came around. Like that's when you heard about me, because it wasn't like I was doing all the work early, but then the reason why I felt comfortable and actually not even comfortable, I was very uncomfortable doing it, but I felt like I could do it one day is because I knew exactly how much time I put in. I knew exactly how many parties or everything that I skipped and refused to go to, that I feel like I would see things online. I was like, I can also replicate this, and I can learn how to add my media touch to it, or I can learn to do things in that realm. And that's when my friends such as Cassius, Kenny, KB, Danny, Mook, all these guys started appearing, is because I was non-existent to everybody.
Yeah.
And then once I became existent to people, then I could actually find those select few people that became my support system.
But I think that the first thing is like you need to go through a lonely route first.
Oh yeah.
You need to go through it alone, which many people are not willing to do because it's a scary route to take. Right? You need to have a tunnel vision in a sense, right? Making sure you believe in what you want to do, what you want to become, and you know you have an understanding of like it's going to take time and patience. And as long as you have that, then just nothing can beat you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the thing, though, too. I feel like people are always like chasing, as you said, like the gratification. And when you do that, you put yourself in a scary predicament, because once they stop coming, you almost lose a sense of your own purpose, what you have, because you've been seeking validation from early age. Let's say like you're the one kid that's well known through high school, like he's a partier, he's a guy, he's a shit. But thing is, like, that's not what equates to happiness or even remotely what your real purpose is in life. Like, amount of times I look back at things, I'm like, I'm glad I didn't go to these parties or these things. It's just due to the fact that, like, where is it putting you in life? Like, you taking the time for that day out of from like 10 to 2 a.m. and you perfecting your own craft. Whether it's clear at the time, that's not the case. The thing is, you're actually putting yourself in a position to actually think critically, be critical of yourself. Okay, this is where I am. I don't align myself with these people, but okay, where do I fit in my own equation that I'm trying to solve? But when you lose that thought process from high school to college, that's 7 years that people go through, just float through those 7 years. Hey, I'm just having fun. I'm enjoying life. Not saying you shouldn't. Understand the balance between those two and actually just literally, as you said, cut out the world, man. Cut out because the noise is going to be there regardless. Whether it's good, bad, it's gonna be there regardless. You're doing good, there's gonna be bad stuff taught. You're doing something negative, there's gonna be people like, oh no, he's all good, da da da. That noise is always gonna be there. Like one thing I always tell people, cut out that noise. You don't need to have a validation of these 10 people know me, da da da. Who cares?
Yeah.
Why does that matter? If you can build a foundation and you can stand by one person that knows ins and out of you and you build something, why wouldn't you do that rather than seeking validation from 10 people that could care less what happens to you tomorrow, whether it's financially, like if you're depressed, this, that, but like, no, he's a weirdo, he's doing this, that. They cast judgment on the same people you're getting validation, quote unquote, that makes you feel good.
Yeah.
But now you're the outcast in a circle because you're weird now because you're going through struggles that you don't understand yourself. And
I think it's entertaining for people to see the struggles. It's like, I told you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Told you that this way isn't going to work. My way is going to work. If I started my way, it's like the thought process of what I could have done versus what they're trying. And I think those are the two conflicts that typically end up happening is you got people who said, oh, if I did that, I would have been better. Or if I continued this, I would have been much better than this guy. And then there's a person actually trying it and going through it.
The funniest thing is like those people would tell you that my way is better, and when they see you progressing, they see you successing, they come back and be like, oh yeah, I helped you out. I supported you.
Yeah.
I was the one that told you to do this.
Yeah.
It's the delusion.
It is.
It is. And no, it's kind of sad to see though how people are afraid to be just with their own thoughts and just be lonely and just do it. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But now we have this notion because the social media is becoming so prevalent, and not saying it's all negative aspect, but some of the aspect that's more glorified is the negative sides, where, as you said, like, oh, if you look at like the streaming world now, the main people that are out there, what are they doing? They're doing some crazy outlandish stuff, and people are watching, they're getting laughs, but what's the end? It's like an end to a mean.
Yeah, and even the way that they're getting their laughs is, from my perspective,
to someone else's misery.
It's negative, right? So like, I think like even though like I didn't really touch on this, but when I was younger, a big reason why I didn't go out was because of my religion, right? Like my mom raised me really well and very religiously, and I always found like it gave me softness inside me, dropped my ego, and allowed me to just see things from a different view. And even now, like, I would say like a lot of what makes my support system feel real is obviously I have my friends, but my religion probably makes me feel the most calm, right? Because we're talking about negative, positive. To me, like the more religious I become, when I'd hear negative, I would associate that with the devil talking to me, right? And if it's something positive, it's like, oh, I want to do something that's a bad habit, that's something that doesn't benefit me. Unless like just becoming more religious, because before those bad habits did exist. Why did they exist? Because I didn't have a reason of why to stop them. I wanted to stop them, but when I did become a little bit more religious, I had a reason to be able to go back. It's because I'm firm on my religion and I have no intolerance towards it. And when you can go towards that, then you can kind of separate positive, negative too. So I'd say why I can kind of see the positive side more is even when I was like recently sick for like almost goddamn near a month, I had started like going through it where I wasn't going through my routines, and I was like, what's my purpose in this life, right? Like, and what am I supposed to be doing? And then when I realized like that's actually what helped me read a little bit more into it, pray a little bit more, and just accepting gratitude more. And that's on the positive side, right? So you go through different challenges, obstacles. Indirectly, basketball helped me do that. But if it can like superpower it when you attach religion or whatever it might be for you. For me, it's that.
Yeah.
But I think like every religion can, in its own shape and form, do that for you.
No, I agree, man. Like even for myself, like the reason why I like smoking and all that, drinking, I stay away from the reason why, because for me, to a certain extent, I do feel that guilt. I'm like, I represent something. But and then if I'm doing it, why wouldn't I want to represent it to the utmost value that I can? What's the point of me representing having a turban or a bug on my head if I can't even represent it and show it like hey, like, listen, I get what the norm of society is, but that's not the standard you should hold yourself. If you're wearing this represents something.
Yeah.
If you're out in clubs like acting like a hooligan and belligerent and doing stupid shit, and yet you represent this on your head, not only are you, painting that culture or whatever it is in such a negative light, it's just such a disservice to the preaching of whether it's the Quran or the Bible or the Granth Sahib, whatever it is. It's such a disservice. And then some people are like, oh, he's just living his life. Then do it without, having this. And I'm a firm believer in this. People that say like, oh, you're being too harsh. It's not being harsh.
No.
We chose this. No one forcing us.
Yeah.
Same thing with Mukh. No one's forcing this on my head. I could shave it tomorrow and do whatever I want without having that guilt of like, oh, I'm doing something wrong. But thing is, some people don't even have that. They don't even have that conscience to even think like I'm doing something like, oh, I have this guilt of I did something wrong because I represent this. They don't have that. They don't have that understanding like what this represents, and they just go on about the day like it's no biggie. And that total delusion they live in, it is crazy to me, and how receptive we become in our society. Be like, oh, it's okay. He's just having fun. We can't be this strict. That's not what we're not talking about being strict. It's about discipline and abiding by what the teaching of the people that have gained the utmost knowledge, value, they got them from these particular discipline. It's not about having, oh, let them be. No. That's not what it is. It's just understanding we're all capable of these things.
Yeah.
Whether we want to take it out of us, and that's another discussion. But man, the amount of time I hear people like using excuses, he's having fun, and the disrespect they have for their own culture and from what they represent. Like amount of people like even in our culture and even like people that do fasting and stuff, they be like, oh, they be smoking weed last week. You know what I mean? And then they're like, shit, I didn't eat halal chicken. And I was sitting there pondering because a couple of my friends are like, they're Muslim.
Yeah.
And I've been around that environment. And then I'm sitting there, I'm like, weren't you smoking weed last week?
Yeah.
And now you're worried about what chicken. I'm like, how do you draw these lines? They don't even correlate. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I get exactly what you're saying. And it seems
They pick and choose.
hypocritical.
Yeah.
But I think I know people who've also found themselves in those moments too.
That's true.
So I guess like to be able to, there's nothing, nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
To be able to try, and the fact that they're still trying to fast shows that somewhere deep down in their heart, they had the urge to be a better version of themselves. So it's a long journey.
No,
but we all get there somehow. The longer you seek for it, but you just got to continue to seek for it.
Yeah. No.
And I guess like all the faults are less on us to be able to judge, which is so easy to do.
It is.
Yeah.
And to leave that up to God.
No, as well said, man. And one thing I want to kind of go back to is just like your professional side. And we know you run your academy, and what work-related challenges would you say you faced, especially being Muslim and being brown and growing up in this culture, and how it kind of influenced your career trajectory? How would you say like that kind of influenced like, how you saw things and how you envision things for yourself? Like, did you ever have that question in mind, be like that year 2, that year 3, like, man, what I'm doing, is it really going to provide me the stability to have something? Because now as you're growing up, when you're hitting that 29, 30, 31, guess what? That pressure of, hey, start a family.
Yeah.
How to attain stability. All these things creep in. Now you're really sitting there for like, wow, man, I love pursuing this, but I'm not seeing that return now. But guess what? If I stick through it, I will. But some people, they just step back. They're like, man, I'll just do this because it's providing me stability. And I know I'm going to have a cuddle partner that's coming in my life. How am I going to support them? So they tend to shy away. So how did you balance all that? And then, you recently got married as well. So, congratulations to you.
Thank you, bro.
And how did you know? I'm serious. Like, it's not an easy thing to do, man.
No, it's definitely not.
Especially in the career that you chose to pick.
Yeah. I think like I would say it was very hard to know where it's going to go, because it's hard to replicate something that you haven't really seen happen. So I would just take it day by day, and I guess the pressures are always going to be there. But I think what I enjoyed in every aspect, and this started early on in high school, is I hated being uncomfortable But then my first year of college, I realized how much those 2 years of playing under Coach George Hoyt helped. Is because I went to Lethbridge, and instantly they were asking, hey, what press did you guys run back at Ainley? Yeah. Right? Like, and there's bits and pieces where I'd be running the practice. And I was like, man, I hated all of that. But I'm kind of like explained, because my coach was very methodical. I remember he used to say, this is your position, but you have to draw out what everybody has to do. You have to know, like a quarterback, you have to know what the big how they have to move, where the shooting guard has to go, how the power forward has to cut. Yeah. And that approach was uncomfortable, and a lot of those things were uncomfortable. That now in life, it's almost like that's what I'm used to, nature, yeah. Right? Like, it's not like if it's too comfortable, I get uncomfortable, right? I started being like, oh no, yeah. I'm stuck, right? And that itself, I think, pushes me forward. But at the same time, like I'm still delusional, where I'm like, hopefully, knock on wood, I'm able to still be able to stay healthy, still be able to just be as youthful as I can for as long as possible. Yeah. So I was actually telling my mom that I'm gonna get married closer to 35. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But I guess just everything that was leading up to it kind of got me prepared to be like, I wasn't comfortable for a long time. I didn't really speak to anybody, and I wanted to be confident and comfortable as a man myself, yep. before I could involve anybody else in my life. And then I started playing these games. Okay, if I can support myself, can I now pretend to support a family? So it's like for a year I was playing this game where I bought this, I got to pay this off, and I just put it into different accounts. But I'm playing these games with myself, trying to see if I did have a family and things of that sort. That's it's like a testing field. On the other side, I think I like competition. So when I find something that I don't like, I tend to try to want to find a way to get past it. It's like, okay, like there's these politics here, there's this here, great. That means you're still not big enough, right? How can I be bigger than where I'm at now? Because if I thought this was enough, clearly it's not. So how can I push past that barrier? So all of those experiences of just being very uncomfortable, and I have a younger brother, and I think he's helped me become the man that I am today, because every time I have to tell him something, I have to do those same things. And I'm not gonna lie, a lot of those times I didn't do those same things that I was telling him to do. But being around and in his life so much, I had to start showcasing and being able to be like, I'm forcing myself to do the same things you're doing, and here's how we're gonna do it. And like, luckily, he's been able to be a very amazing and bright young kid, and it's fun to see. But without him, I wouldn't be easily the person that I am today, simply for the fact that raising a kid, kudos to my parents now and all the parents, because having a family is running your own business. It is. It is going through those trials and tribulations, and you don't know how things are going to go, and there's so many uncontrollable variables, and it's 24/7, right? It's a business in itself, and sometimes you don't see where the business is going to go until 20 years pass. Delayed gratification. You got to be in it long enough. So it's just being family oriented, always enjoying being uncomfortable. Didn't push me towards, like, so many times my parents are like, okay, this is it? Like, are you done basketball now? And I'm like, no, I'm not. Right? So the more I pushed back, the more confident I got in that as well. Yeah. And the more confident I got in trying to figure out, okay, I'm not where I'm at. Because if I was where I'm at, my parents would be telling their friends, like, oh, look, I'm so happy that he's doing so and so. No, it's true. So it just, I guess, reframing the mindset to do more rather than wonder why I'm not where I'm at.
Yeah. No, I couldn't say any better, man. No, for real. And the notion what you said, just putting yourself in a position where, like, pretend like, are you able to actually sustain a family if I'm in that, in that time frame? That's such a good example for people out there to start looking at life at like that. Because, a lot of people have this preset context, like, oh, by 35, I get married. By I'll get married. I tell people to stop having that notion. Be like, yeah, have like set out goals, but don't be set on. Be like by 35, like that's when I'm gonna get married. No other shape or form can change my mind. And I tell people, I'm like, you never know who you're gonna come across, and the way they make you perceive life, and how you guys grow together. It can be so prosperous, and it could make you a completely different person, have an outlook on life, how you pursue your dreams, what you thought, be like, I'm doing well for myself, but like, and now they're telling you, be like, yo, we can do this, we can do that. And when you involve that structure, and when you build on that, man, I feel like it's such a great thing where you can, there's no such thing as a timeline. For me personally, I don't believe in timeline, but like, hey, in 3-4 years, we'll get married. I'm like, no, how we progress is depending on when we get married or whatever, maybe what next step we take, engagement or whatever, because that's what it is. And as you said, you can't bring another person in your life when you know damn well you're not stable yourself.
Yeah.
And and so, that's a great point. And
even to have the conversation with yourself alone, to be like, okay, let's be real here, right?
Am I really capable of this?
That's and to be honest, like even though I felt like I was, but I also felt like I wasn't, right? But I think I got past a certain point where then I started just joking around to the homies. I'm like, yo, I'm getting, you guys with your girls, it's still not married? I'm getting married before all of you guys, right? And long story short, here we are. But
we all looked at cash.
But at the same time, like, I got to say, you have those plans, but once you feel like you're ready enough, finding the right partner has brought more into like, it's helped my business, it's helped everything else. Man. It's made everything smoother, and it's actually made me, I guess, like when I was starting to achieve like little forms of things that I wanted to, I guess, attain, I started getting scared that I was going to attain things without having a partner to share it with. Right. And I would rather, like, I'm very family oriented, so I'd rather have somebody to share it with because it's more special to me that way. And when I found my now wife, it was like before I was like, I'm gonna write a book on how to get a girl, right? As a joke to the guys. But to be honest, I got very lucky. And there's a moment of like, a lot of the girls that I talked to, how I would approach and talk to them before was completely different than how I met my wife. Before it's like, you're going based off of looks, you're going based off of, actually, that's about it. I'm joking. I'm joking. No, but as a guy, it's right?
True.
Like it's
when
not.
I first started talking to girls, it's very true.
And I guess it's not to say that it's just looks, but if my mindset, because looks kind of correlate to mindset, in my perspective, because you can't get the looks without a certain mindset, right? So when I was before, it was just looks, but at the same time, I started realizing how to ask the right questions early, and I was okay to let go. Whereas if a beautiful girl likes me, I'd be like, yo, a beautiful girl likes me, right? That's the one. And then it would confuse you. But then when I started being like, okay, like, you're beautiful. I don't know if you're for me. I'm sure there's somebody out there that's great. I wish you the best of luck. And then just kind of move forward. And that's when I realized, like, I understand my core values, and when you can find somebody else with the same core values and beautiful, that's how but at the end of the day, I just happen to get lucky too.
But that's it. I mean, to be lucky, you have to put yourself in position to be lucky. And a lot of people don't understand that concept. Is like, being lucky, that's one of it, but how did you put yourself in a position to be lucky? Because you, as you said, what you look for, the way how you saw certain thing, and how your perception changed over a period of time, it led you to the person that you are happily married to today. So it's like a whole circle back. It's like, a lot of people are like, man, he's got lucky, but like, okay, that's part of it. But understanding, I put myself in a position, like, I seek through certain things, and I put myself in this position to attract this girl.
Absolutely.
That's, my cuddle partner.
3 years ago, she's not marrying me.
So
I could get lucky to meet her, but I won't be lucky enough to marry her. So it's different forms, like obviously preparation, like you're talking about, but definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
It's difficult though.
Yeah, me and Mook been in it.
Yo, my friends say I'm way too selective. I have very high standards, but I know for sure, like for us men, right? How much attention do we really receive at our early stages? Because like even if you're putting in the work, you're alone by yourself. So even if you get that one bit of attention from a woman that looks beautiful,
Gritty, yeah.
Yeah.
Most like say no.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, if you go through it,
Yeah.
then you become like kind of pointing to what you're saying is just like then you have this perspective of like the type of person you want to have beside you, right? You have this type of not in a sense like a selection type of specific selection, right? That because of all the hard work that you've been through, the type of mindset that you built, you kind of filter through those people, those type of women, to really find that gem in a sense.
Yeah.
Right?
And then that's where the luck got to come in. Is you got to go through enough.
Yeah.
My best friends Michelle and Catherine Plouffe, their sister, one time I think I was at her house like 2020, 2021 or something, or no, like sometime in the last 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And she's like, "When's the last time you talked to a girl?" I was like, honestly, I don't even talk to nobody, right? And she's like, "Well, Khurram, you got to shoot your shot to score."
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, you got to get your reps in."
Yeah.
True.
Right? You don't. It doesn't mean you got to like do anything crazy,
Yeah.
but like you got to
Help
talk
your
to
talk.
people.
Yeah.
So that's when I was like, I need to get my reps up. I'm out here shooting hoops my whole life, and I'm over here like not even practicing any reps. So it was definitely like you when you go through enough, like you're saying, you end up finding exactly what you're into, exactly what you're not into.
Yeah. And I think more and more people need to kind of understand, like, when you are like looking for a relationship, like me and Mook talk about this, I feel like you should talk to someone that you feel like is not stealing away happiness from what you see yourself in. So what I mean by that is a lot of people go into a relationship and stay in a situation where they know it's not what they want, but guess what? I can work on it, man. You're not there. No. You're not there to help heal no one. Yeah. If someone's not ready, they're not ready. You might feel like, oh, everything aligns. You know, there are people like, but she's perfect for me. But like, no, she's not. Like, yeah, that might be true, but you're not no healing center. They're coming to get healed, whether it's a guy or a girl.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, people just go through this notion, but like, no, I can fix someone. No, you're not here to fix no one. I feel like nowadays, like people are sucking out that joy of happiness out of each other, rather than more so growing with each other, understanding. But like, if I'm not in a position where like, hey, I don't feel like I can provide you something, and having a healthy talk and not be toxic and move on is not a thing anymore. It's like, like, oh, like you're talking to a girl like that, like you think you can do better than me. I ain't say that. I just say, hey, God bless you, do your own thing.
Yeah.
Wish you the luck. Like that's a healthy way to talk to people. But that message is sometimes perceived as like toxic. It's like, if I'm saying you should work on yourself and I'm gonna work on myself, the situation not good for each other, like that's not a knock on no one. That's just understanding of what I want from my life, given my where I'm at in career.
Self-aware.
Yeah, just being self-aware.
Yeah.
But thing is, people like that so much. It's like they want to continuously go through this process where sometimes people say it's hard, but for me, I never believed in that. Like I was in my last podcast, I'm firmly against dating in early 20s, man. Like even like in the 18, 19, 20, 21, I'm firmly against it, because
especially as men,
because you lose out on self-development to a point where like you don't understand yourself emotionally. Now you're involving another counterpartner. You have to understand them emotionally, constrained to how they feel, what they're going through, and you put yourself at such a disadvantage. Now you're like, I'm trying to do something in my career. Now I'm also worried about a person that you don't need to be worried about at that age. And it's just like a recipe for disaster personally. There are people that attain that person at an early age. Hey, hats off to them.
Yeah.
But they're a small majority. And then sometimes the backlash I get, they're like, oh no, I mean, like, you grow with that person. I'm like, guess what? You're here with me. You know, that person when you talking back in the 20s, it's like, it doesn't work like that, you know? And yeah, it's interesting because I talk to Mook all the time. I'm like, yo, Mook, like, fuck the looks. I mean, I'm not saying just like, have someone, a selective in what you want from your personal life. You know, you should have that ability to not feel like, oh, you're criticizing someone. No, what you want to attain for yourself, you should have it yourself. That means you're just being selective in what you possess. Being crazy about like, oh, I want this, but do you possess that yourself? Being realistic, you know, that's a different thing. That's what I'm like, don't force yourself in a situation. Just see how it pans out and be true to yourself. Don't try to force shit. Just go like, damn, is she 10 out of 10? Like, that's it. I'm like, you can only look at it for so long.
Yeah.
You can, you know, it's gonna die down. The conversation is only gonna be. You can only ask, "How was your day?" so many times out of the month.
Facts.
You know, so, and then that's a different topic with different conversation.
Went way off.
But no,
it's good. It's a good detour.
This is what happens when you talk to a married about it.
For real, because as men, why do we really operate to do a lot of the things that we want to do instinctively? It's to be able to have somebody to provide for or to build a family with somebody, right? Shit, like I might just go chill then if things aren't that hard, right? But it's hard to attain things, and all those things push you to be better.
Yeah. And then like one last thing I want to touch on before we kind of get to our personal stuff is kind of the coping mechanism that you use throughout, you know, your career, and kind of like, how did you address certain challenges, and what mechanism did you use for yourself to be like, okay, I understand where I'm in life, I understand what I'm up against, but this is what I got to do. Be like, whether it's, you know, meditating or implementing certain new nuances in your lifestyle to attain that next level in your career. What advice would you give to other people that feel like, you know, this can help them attain, you know, that flip that switch in their career? We're like, okay, you know what you're going through, but how do I get to the next level where I can attain that next thing you wanted to, but you're not just reaching that pinnacle that you want to? What are some like coping mechanisms that you can say, like kind of give out to people where?
Well, I guess I don't really know how good these are going to be, but it's just based on my own experience. Like what I've done is I actually went through like my own phases of depression growing up quite a bit. I saw somebody that I was in school with and who I was kind of friends with at the time commit suicide. And then this was grade 4, grade 5. And from an early age, it just kind of like allowed me to believe that was an option, right? So as I was growing up, it was kind of like I was like, oh, that's what people do when things get. Some people have that much pain in them, right? So I guess one of the coping mechanisms that I've adapted to over the recent years, and it's completely changed my life, I would say, is not believing in it. Right? And when you realize that it's more in your head than it is real, like obviously you feel it, but you can either amplify it or you can either choose to understand that you're feeling something and it's coming from somewhere. So I guess finding root causes and bringing myself back to neutral is easily done, not in one day, but through periods of weeks, maybe months. And in those days, what I would always do is obviously build a routine. Wim Hof breathing, like I was mentioning earlier, I used to do that a lot. And I used to take ice baths a lot in college, right? I'd be the one guy, like, coach would say, Khurram, I don't know what you need to do to play tomorrow. Go take your ice bath, whatever you're going to do, just do it, right?
Do it,
And I had some teammates that want to try it, but now I understand the science behind the health benefits behind, and why it made me actually feel better after is because it releases a lot of dopamine after you've done an ice bath. So from time to time, I like taking ice baths. Obviously it's a little bit more in the cold shower side now than it is the actual ice bath, based on my work schedule and how I'm kind of living my life. But coping and definitely growing, ice baths, clean diet. The carnivore diet is something that KB put me on, and I understand.
No, I heard about that.
So,
I heard a lot of upside for it.
But like it's changed. It's changed certain things for me, where maybe it's the fact that I'm just not choosing not to have Skittles or the bad stuff, right? It could be anything else. But cleaning up your diet and what suits you best.
Yeah.
And I like doing Wim Hof breathing. To be able to stop, put everything down, And for 20 minutes, you're going to go through 4 different rounds of being able to do breath work and then hold your breath for 1.5 minutes and then work your way up to 3 minutes. To be able to sit there not in silence, but to be able to face those thoughts, because each minute, especially when I first started, a lot of the thoughts that I didn't want to think about would pop up. It's like, oh, I got you now, right? Like you don't got anything to hide from. Now it's like a direct conversation with what I was avoiding. So I guess what meditating and breath work has kind of helped me do is have those conversations that maybe you can do in other forms. But for me, that's the way I was able to find it, is like the more I did breath work, the more conversations I had with myself trying to figure out what am I avoiding? And then the more I found that, the more I found answers to it, right? The more actually, there's certain times where I do breath work, I would have such strong feelings towards something, and I would immediately have an action towards that feeling right after I was done. And slowly over time, that's changed quite a bit. But at the end of the day, just knowing that you can be happy for a moment is going to come and go. It's less, I look at it more now, and there's people like, for example, Andrew Tate. A lot of people don't like him. I would argue that he's helped me understand a lot about myself in different ways, where I'm able to, and you don't got to idolize anybody. You can just take the good from somebody, and then you could provide that to your community in any way possible. So to me, he's been a force of good to really understand certain aspects, and just creating routine, thinking about depression, rethinking things, right? And then I wanted to go through, like, I take some certain words that I read from the Quran, from different people I look up to, Patrick Bet-David, and then I put my own experience to it, right? Because until I put my experience to it, it's just somebody else's word.
That's true.
So,
no, that's true though.
The coping mechanism definitely is a hard one to kind of really unravel. But I would say it's just like having a system that works for you, and it takes one thing at a time. I've been doing breath work for like over 2 years now, but at the start it wasn't every day. I'd have like a little calendar. I'm like, I'm going to try to do this every day. And I would just fall off. And then over time, it would kind of come back. Fall off, come back. Now I'm less about, like, prayer really helps me. It's the same feel as meditating. Is at the end of each prayer, before I ask for anything, I always pray for people's health. Then I always say, thank you for what you've given me. And then I say, please help me work. Please give me the strength to work towards so-and-so. But at the end of the day, you're just having conversations with yourself as well, too, right? As much as you're having it with God in that aspect, to be able to figure out what you want and what you need. And it's not going to be one thing, but it's going to be a whole combination of different things that's going to work out for you. But when it does, the engine starts going. It's easier to have.
Queen some more.
Yeah, because there's been times where I've been upset, but it hasn't been the same solution every single time. It's been one of.
No, I agree, man. I think going back, with coping mechanism, I'm talking to Mukh too, through his personal experience, is like, when it comes to depression and stuff, and like the way he kind of tackled it on, like what might work for you might not work for other people. It's like, I think finding that inner ability to cope with things, and understanding, like how you spoke about Andrew Tate, there's certain aspect of his life that, he goes off on like complete different rhetoric, but that doesn't negate the fact that he has good things to present to the world. That's like us saying, but like everything we speak is perfection. That's false. Like this narrative of like, oh, this guy is so condescending, this, that. I think those people are easily to just frame him in a certain way and not realizing the good that he's actually putting out in the world. And as you spoke to, like, certain thing, when I look back at what he said, like, when it comes to certain aspect, be like, yo, why are you feeling this way? Is it really because you went through a lot of shit because, oh, this happened to you, this, or is it just yourself? And 9 out of 10 times, it's just ourselves. We're our own worst enemy. We want to throw ourselves a pity party because, oh, like this happened, like this was thrown at me, but what could I have done better? There's no point in just throwing yourself a pity party and saying, be like, oh, I have, not to knock on, saying depression is just easily defeated. To certain people, it's more traumatic than others. Whether it comes to the realm of what they went through is different. But I'm saying when it comes to just like us and man, like certain of the struggles that we said that put us in a position where we are depressed is just our innate ability to just deflect blame and not take accountability. And that's what I feel like a lot of the people need to just take the mechanism of taking responsibility, understanding your own thoughts, where you went wrong. I tend to sit down a lot. I tell Mukh, like I'm very calm in my family and even like my business structure. I understand we're all imperfect. I tell my employees all the time, I'm like, listen, I'm not better than you. I'm not up here. You're not down here. We're right here. Yeah. And I tell them, I'm like, listen, I can always be better when it comes to being a better boss or whatever it may be, but that doesn't make me a better human being than you. If I'm doing something wrong that you feel like that doesn't allow you to grow, whatever, tell me. Hey, I mean, like, I don't like the way this was done. Like, and then have that humbleness to actually understand that's where you lack a certain thing. I think it goes a long way, even if it impacts your ego a little, but guess what? It will help you grow, and just understanding, being humbled and humbling your dreams and understanding to kick it to the next level. You got to attain knowledge from all walks of life. And, your brother is a perfect example. What you alluded to is because he's 14 and you're 32, right?
Hey, bro, I'm sorry. 31.
31.
We can't get there too early yet.
31.
But,
sorry. But, like, a lot of people don't even acknowledge the fact that, hey, my 15-year-old brother, like, man, what life lessons can he give me? He doesn't know any better. Oh, this guy's not successful. I mean, what can he tell me about life?
Yeah.
And when we have that ego a lot of the time, we lose out on a perspective of that could have changed our insight on a certain thing, and which could eventually lead to our, career taking a different trajectory compared to what it could without that knowledge, And with Mukh, like, he spoke about a little bit like his experience, like, when he went to therapy and stuff like that, and your understanding was like whole different. Your coping mechanism was like completely different, when it comes to.
No, I mean, for me, it was, how do you say it? Kind of going back to what you were talking about, Andrew Tate. I think the biggest thing is why it's sparked such a huge impact in the media world is that men have become weak. And I think the reason why is because men are not being held accountable. They're not guided on how to work on their own character. And for a man to build on their own character is to go through hardship.
Yeah.
For those who have, in a sense, quote unquote, failed, right? They've considered failure as an end, not as a stepping stone to leading somewhere else. Yeah. Right. And I think that's the problem, is that why Andrew Tate has become such a huge impact within, especially for the young men, is because they never really had someone older than them to give them mentorship.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have kind of mistaken on his wording as even though he takes more of an aggressive approach to it.
Yeah, it's calculated.
Yeah.
Right. Like Michelle and Catherine always say, I always come with, like, I purposely have shock factor. She's like, oh yeah, Khurram, he'll say this because he just got to say it like that. And how I'm talking right now is very different than how I talk with the guys, with a lot of the people. Yeah. I'll just come in and say, like, for example, I was at the gym at Twilliger Rec Center, and Michelle and Catherine's sister, Andrea, the one who told me to get my reps up, ran into her, right? And I went MIA talking to wifey for, like, I was in the middle of talking. So then three and a half hours later, I was like, sorry, I was just talking to Andrea. She wanted to see the Tesla, so I drove her to her car, right? And the way that, like, no context, nothing, but I understood what I was doing, right? Like, I was like, I know the reaction I'm going to get out of it. So I think, like, in its own way, that's the approach he kind of takes. So to me, sometimes it's funny, but I understand, like, where people can take it more literally, because that's a secret sauce, is you got to attack emotionally, but speak logically, factually. But find a way to get them to react just because they don't like how you said it or things of that sort. So I think it's more...
it's a psychological warfare.
Yeah, psychological marketing warfare.
But at the end of the day, it's reality.
Yeah.
Right? Like, for how long can you really sit in one's place and just be sensitive all the time? You need to be able to be bold, build a character. For my own sense in regards to therapy, for my sense, I did a lot of research on how to build my mental aspect. and I took a lot on stoicism, right? Trying to build your own character without emotion. Even though emotion plays a big part to it, because it adapts to you, it develops
Mukh
you.
has no heart.
Hey, bro. Take the stoicism out when you're trying to talk to girls.
Mukh's out here giving a template, be like, this is what I want. You don't have it. Fuck out of here.
No, but I agree. That's
Right?
it's one of it's hard to do.
It is.
Very hard to do.
It's very difficult, and that's and going back all the way to like being by yourself. You're in a very sensitive position because you don't have support, right? For people who are athletes, right? Their main support is what the sport they play.
Yep.
When you're going to a gym by yourself, you enjoy it, right? You go through all the steps of trying to build the skill sets and everything like that, and when at the end of it, you have a smile on your face, like, oh shit, I did that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It is.
So it's
a beauty.
It is, and that's what's undervalued. That's what people are not. A lot of people are willing to go through because it's a difficult time to go through, but it builds you. It builds your
does.
character.
Yeah.
So
Sports. There's a one time where I had to pick up my brother from Edmonton and take him out of town to my practice because my parents were busy.
Yeah.
So I was like, what the heck is going on here? And my coach, being my coach, like a college basketball practice isn't going to be no swearing and light.
Yeah.
But I let him know, I was like, Coach, I know you got kids.
Yeah.
Please
Yeah.
just understand.
Yeah.
I got a 7-year-old brother over there. Maybe just like kind of tone it down.
Yeah.
And in that same practice, he forgot because obviously it's his job.
Yeah.
So he starts cussing me out, saying, "You motherfuckers are doing so and so. You, Khurram, you did this wrong. How are you gonna let this guy go over and blah blah blah?"
Yeah.
And at the time, it wasn't even my fault. I knew he wasn't. It was actually Wavy who messed up, but he thought it was me.
Yeah.
And I could see how uncomfortable he was getting, being like, "Oh, yo, that was me." But as in terms of understanding emotion and being able to be in control, I was like, "Yes, coach. Yes, coach.
Yeah.
Yes, coach." And then right after, I grabbed Malik. I said, "You hear that?"
Yeah.
Right? I was like, "Don't do that."
Yeah.
But it's like just understanding how to be in control of emotion and not necessarily seeing where the emotion is going to lead you, but what the message is.
Messages. Yeah.
Yeah, no. And the last thing we want to touch upon is, man, if someone's in your position looking up to you right now, especially in our culture, what's sort of one advice you would give to even like an athlete perspective or someone who's even aspiring to have some sort of same career path that you're having? What's the one thing you would tell them? Be like, this is how you get through when it comes to, explaining to your family, be like, hey, this is what I want. How do I go about telling my parents, be like, this is what I love doing and I can make a career out of it? And how do you kind of like bring it to life? Like coming from a Brown perspective, because it's hard, man. Like it's genuinely hard. It's hard to step out of the comfort zone of that traditional, go to school, get a good education, and it will lead to a good life. And rightfully so, as you said, like our parents want the best of us. They're not putting you down, be like, oh, you're being foolish. No, they're being safe.
Yeah.
Because from what the perseverance they've been through in their life, they're putting you in a position what they know is being successful. So when you include all of that, what advice would you give to a person who's listening to kind of, what steps to take?
Well, first of all, there is never going to be any telling them. There's never going to be any telling your parents. That will never exist. It has to be showing them, and that can only happen over a period of time. So I think what I did a lot was, like, my mom used to think I was psychotic as well, because I used to edit like a 10-second, 30-second video for over 24 hours. Like, I'd be at the table. There'd be times where my mom would leave and go upstairs, 9 p.m. I'm on the computer editing. And when she come back in the morning, I'm still there.
Yeah.
When she come back to pray in the middle of the night, I'm still there, right? And she's like, stop doing this. You're going to, like, nobody's going to notice this much.
Yeah.
But to me, it was almost like I cared about it enough and I loved it enough where I was like, I wasn't satisfied unless it was different. In fact, like a lot of the things that I do now, and my wife gets this the most, is I don't like being, I don't like doing things that are the same as other people.
Yeah.
It's like there's a part of me that it really enjoys. For example, this ring, we did not find a single one, and I still go into stores sometimes. I'm like, I'm trying to find this ring somewhere,
Yeah.
right? But I can't find it, and that's why this is my ring.
Yeah,
this is why I love it. So, being able to in those moments when you're going and growing, you can't just do the standards excessively and expect it to give you exponential or exceptional results. So obviously you need to perfect the basics, but at a certain point you got to be able to be willing to master different skills that might freely associate together and combine to create something new. And I think that's what I did. It's not like I just did basketball and media. I started tapping into different parts of reading, different parts of like even like the media side. Like I actually started implementing commercial type call out titles from sofas, from sofa commercials, right?
Yeah.
And I remember I saw that and I was like, I edited this video for like 2 days. I didn't even put it out because it didn't do anything, but I learned something while I was doing it. So you'll never really know like what skill you're gonna get. But at a certain point, I ended up taking something that was completely out of the industry, putting it into the industry, and then people all over the States, even when I went to the States the first time, the guy that I met, who was very like well-known, famous all over the world, he was like, oh, you're the guy who this guy took this style from and mass-produced it and turned it into something. And then everybody started doing it for 5 years. So it was like, you're not going to be able to, and even that for me was a big obstacle because I was like, I created something and there's certain people that saw it that were big names that like, they said, you better, like there's a few guys that reposted and said, better hop on the train early because it's about to take off.
Yeah.
Things of that sort. So when somebody started copying, mass producing, and then taking it, I was like, okay,
fuck, do I gotta hop on
I'm
the train?
screwed, but I gotta figure out what's next.
Yeah.
I could sit there and be like, somebody just took my stuff. I gotta give up because I'm a small fish, big pond, big ocean, right?
Yeah.
But it definitely didn't happen overnight. I've been doing this since it's 2023, about to be 2024. This has been going on since 2006. And that's a long time, right? Like when you look at it in a bigger picture, I've been fighting this fight for that long, and now I can kind of say that I'm here. So like if you're looking for an answer to tell your parents, my parents know how much I love basketball. My family now knows how much I love basketball, and they also like I was just at my cousin's engagement the other day over the weekend, and there's a kid in there who played on a team, on an AAU team in Toronto, and my uncle brought him straight to me, and he said, hey, this guy, like I remember when he first told me about basketball, and we're like, what is this basketball? Like, are you really that good? And then he actually took me to this Orlando Magic RDV complex is what it's called. And Jason Williams was in there. And then my cousin who actually got engaged that weekend saw me go back and forth with Jason Williams for like the final score was 21-18 and I had 18 and his team had 21 and it was 5-on-5 full court. But when he told his dad that, he's like, oh, okay, I guess he might be able to do like certain things. And it's very hard to, A, you got to love it. B, you got to be in it, and you got to pivot, and you got to just stick it out. If it's truly meant for you, because there's gonna be tests coming up for me still that say, are you sure you want to do this? Or what about this media side? Like you really enjoy doing this. Could this be a better avenue for you? So there's going to be different tests that are going to hit you over and over again to test how much you love what you're doing. And sometimes you might not have to, but if you're good at it, stick with it for a period of time, build up some wealth to be able to put towards what you love later too. There's many different ways of taking it.
Any final words, Mukh? You want to ask anything else?
Oh man, I don't know. I think we covered everything. But I mean, besides that, I mean, I guess to kind of, I don't know. Do you have anything?
No, man. No, I think it was a great conversation, man. Throughout the whole podcast, the episode, I think a lot of people can resonate, and they can actually implement what you said and in their day-to-day life and how to actually attain certain thing. And I think this will be it'll be a good listen for people, and it's, and yeah.
But I guess to end the episode,
Yes, sir.
drop your stuff, bro.
Drop my stuff. Oh man, the socials.
Yeah, got to.
You can find me on Instagram. The handle is at It's K Sultan, ITSK Sultan, and then on YouTube it's also the same thing. If you just search at It's K Sultan, it should pop up. I don't really use Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
For the most part, it is generically the same thing, and then I have some personal stuff that shows a different life.
Yeah.
But all the basketball stuff is on there.
Okay. No, fair, man. Yeah, all the hoopers, whoever is trying to attaining certain thing. I mean, Khurram is actually a genuine person, man. Like, I haven't known you for that long, but yeah, genuine person. Anybody that's going through stuff, man, Khurram will be there. If you reach out to him, telling you, if it's some day he's just not having it, but that's rarely the case, he will reach out to you, man. And that's huge too, man.
And he won't take money for it.
In person is better than
way better
off person.
Yeah.
Because it's hard for me to get back to everybody online.
No,
it's
100%.
been I'm a pretty bad texter, especially because I'm always on court.
Go and do this, that. Yeah.
Wife, little brother, moving pieces. But if you see me in person, you're more than welcome to come ask me any question if you feel like I'm worthy enough to give you some of my experiences.
Yeah. No, thank you, man. That's beautifully said. That's it for episode 8. Thank you for coming, man.
I gotta say thanks for having me too.
Yeah.
It's honestly been fun watching, and I've seen a lot of the clips pop up. I like what you're doing for brown guys, and I think it's important to definitely have these conversations and I guess inspire more brown people to do things out of the box.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
thank you guys for starting this, and thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
Peace.